Donna from Red Willow Digital, and I'm just going to show you a quick tip on how to use script fonts in Cricut. Okay, so first you're going to want to start with something to write. Okay, I'm just going to type in a name. Just because I saw this name on a design earlier, it just stuck in my head, so I'm going to go ahead and use it instead of coming up with something else. Okay, so then you need to select a script font. You can use Cricut fonts, especially if you're new to Cricut. This might be what you have available to you. And you can filter those over here by your fonts, if you have some already saved to your computer, multi-layer fonts, single-layer fonts, writing fonts, etc., etc., etc. I mostly like to use my own fonts, so I'm just going to click on System over here. And then just look through real quick. I'm going to use one of my favorite fonts right at the moment. There we go. A nice bouncy calligraphy font. Now what I want you to see here is how it's disjointed. Okay, I'm going to make another one and show you another popular font that Cricut users like to use. It's called I Love Glitter. Okay. This is probably even a better example. Okay, so a lot of people who are new to Cricut don't realize that when they type something in here and it's separated like this, that this isn't how it's supposed to be. Okay, they're supposed to be connected, just like if you're writing cursive writing, that's script. So they should be touching. In a few instances, it actually looks good to have them separated like that, but in most cases, in order for them to look right, they need to be touching. So there are two ways that you can fix this problem. Sometimes the first one will work, sometimes it doesn't, so you have to go on to step two. So step one is pick your font, obviously. The next step would be to go to your letter spacing function right here, okay, and then start decreasing the letter space. Alright, just keep clicking it until everything kind of lines up the way you think it should. Okay, so in this case you see how the E and the A came together just like the H and the E here, but we still have a little funkiness here. The T is kind of off in the middle by itself, and these are touching and they shouldn't be. So this is when you would really need to go to the second step, which is advanced. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to ungroup the letters. Pardon my kids in the background. Ungroup the letters, so now they're all separated. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky, okay? So you need to just move it around. Try not to move it up or down unless you want them to have that off-center look, okay? And then just select the ones that you like the way they look together. This is still not looking quite right, but you know, there's not much I can do about that. And then weld it together, okay? Then scooch it over, okay? In this case, I want this down a little bit lower so that the T rests above the rest of it. And then weld again. Okay, take the E and the A, since I already like their placement, I'm going to weld those. And scooch them on over. Okay, weld. Move that H back on over to where it looks right. And there you have it. Okay, and then you're going to select them all. And so that you don't have to go back and forth when you're ready to make, you can do two things. I like to weld them to just make one word, and then I don't have to worry about it separating all over my mat when I hit make it. Another option you can do is, let's see down here, instead of doing the weld, you just hit attach, and that will keep all of your letters together when you go click make it, and then it sorts everything on your mat. If you don't attach your letters or weld them, they're going to be placed on your mat kind of willy-nilly in the most efficient way to cut them, but it's going to cut them separately, which is not what you want. Okay, so again, with this font, I Love Glitter, you would try the same thing, okay? Letter spacing, decrease the letter spacing until everything comes together. But sometimes, as you can see here, the E and the R came together nicely, the T and the H came together nicely, but then we still have these extra spaces, and if we keep going, then things are just going to start looking funky. Okay, so let's just put that back to 0. And then we will ungroup letters and do what we did before and just start scooching things over. It's okay. Okay. And then just keep selecting. Doesn't let me stop. Okay. Scooch. Oop. Scooch too far. And just scooch, scooch, scooch. And I fear it might be a little issue. Something that happens when you're welding things together is sometimes if they're too close together when you go to weld, yeah, just what I thought would happen. You lose this circle here, okay? So what you have to do is you just kind of have to play with it a little bit. I'm going to back up and do that last step. I'm going to weld these two together, and then, whoops, and then just scooch it out a little bit more and see if that works. There we go. See, I didn't do it. Alright, and then we're going to scooch these in. Back up. Just a tad. Weld them together. And weld them over to the A. So when you're doing script, if you're working in something like Photoshop, or not Photoshop, but InDesign, obviously when you use these fonts, it's going to already put them together. Very seldomly is there a font where they're separated like it is in Design Space. I don't know why Design Space can't fix that, but or Cricut, I should say, can't fix that, but it would be great if they could because this is time consuming. Scooch that one in. This is also where you can get creative with your letter placement. You know, kind of like I did here with this T. Normally it would come into this upper part here, which I don't particularly like, unless it was a nice long swoosh. But this is where you can play with it. You can move things around and see what you think looks best. You like them separated? By all means, separate them. Okay, so now we've welded these all together, and you've got two separate boards. And then when you're ready to hit make, you'll see when it sorts it on your mat, it's all together. One cut. That's another thing that you want to do with the script font. I should have mentioned that before. Is when you're using a font like this, or any fonts really, when you have a script, you actually have to weld them together. Because if you don't, then you're going to see each of the letters cut into the next one. So I'm going to correct my previous statement when I said you could just attach these. If it's a design that has other elements, then yes, you would attach them. But when you have words that are touching each other, then you need to weld them together so that you get one nice smooth cut. Instead of it would cut right here. And so you'd see that little cut mark, but when you go to press it, if you're making a t-shirt, you might not notice it. But then again, you as the maker probably notice more than whoever you're giving it to. So there you have it. That's just how you would use a script font in Cricut. Okay, if you have any questions, please just leave me a comment. Subscribe to my page if you want to get more tips and tricks for using your Cricut. If you have something you want to learn how to do on the Cricut, you can leave that in the comments as well. And I thank you for watching, and everybody have a great day. Happy making!